Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Always Online multiplayer gaming podcast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, as always, Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man, and we've got a lot of multiplayer news. Some of it not great, but yeah, we're going to talk about all of it and run through everything like we do every week. Make sure if you're watching here on YouTube, listening on iTunes, Spotify, any of the other podcast platforms, that you click like, click subscribe, turn on those notifications. We love having you here and appreciate it. It's a fast, easy, and free way to support the show here. But most importantly, on YouTube and on MMOBomb.com, need your weekly bombs and your question of the week answers. A little better than the previous week, coming off the holidays, but still a little light. Makes those segments hard. If I don't have them, we'll just cut those segments. So let me hear your voices on all of our topics in the comments below. Joining me today to go over some stuff, Mr. Troy Blackburn, the Noob Fridge. How are you?
Doing good. Ready to talk some MMOs.
Yeah. And we got weekly bombs entered by chat live here on Twitch. So you can always come and join us, twitch.tv/MMOBomb, 1 p.m. I'll take the bombs and put them in the show notes this week, but I need them on YouTube and on MMOBomb.com. Don't just show up to the show and drop shit in there. Also on the line, Mr. Anthony Jones. What's up, sir?
What's up, guys? I'm here to talk some news, some good things, some bad things.
Some bad things, yeah.
Hopefully.
I have a feeling there might be some ribbing coming Anthony's way in today's show. A little pokey poke, little playful making fun of some previous opinions you may have given. And we'll see if those opinions are revised today or not. We'll see what the pulse is. So let's go ahead and get started with the news. All right. Before we get to what you are probably guessing we will be talking about today, and rest assured we will be talking about that today. Excuse me. I want to talk first about the Xbox and Bethesda Developer Direct live stream. We have the date for it, January 25th. You'll be able to watch it on both their Twitch and YouTube channels at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on January 25th. So what day of the week is that? I didn't even look. That is a Wednesday. So we'll, of course, be talking about that on Friday of that week here on the Always Online podcast. Now, they basically have a slate of 4 games that they're going to be coming to talk about here, Troy. And we'll mention in a minute that there's a notable omission, and they have kind of given a reason why, but I want to see if you buy that reason. In addition to Forza Motorsport and Minecraft Legends, which we won't spend a lot of time on here in this show because they're generally single player, although Minecraft Legends is showing off their like PvP multiplayer component that they're adding. The 2 that really impact us here are Redfall and the Elder Scrolls Online. Let's start with Redfall since it's a little bit easier. Anthony, just a few weeks ago, rumors were indicating that this was probably delayed, even though they hadn't given a release date. Apparently, internally, they were targeting March. They backed it up about 6 weeks into May. Today, we kind of saw rumors from the same people that got that information to say, it's looking like it's May 2nd. So we didn't put up a piece for that one because it was just, we already covered that it was probably going to be early May, and on the 25th, we'll probably know for sure, but everything seems to be holding in place for a May 2nd launch. Is this a game that you and your cat are looking forward to? What do you think of the delay? What do you think they're going to show off at the show? We have a basic idea, but what do you really want to see out of Redfall?
Oh man, I am really excited for Redfall. I remember I did another piece for Redfall. There was a interview with I believe it was Games Radar Plus, and the developers that were talking. Oh wow, okay, just run through.
Cat's really getting in on the show today, moving the camera.
But yeah, they were talking about how it's Far Cry and this is this open world experience, and you can basically pick and choose what you want to do, and all that stuff is like really. I like that stuff. I like that. It gives me Elden Ring vibes, but like a multiplayer experience, and I think that's super dope.
Yeah, and that's kind of a little surprising, right? Because initially, when you look at Redfall and everything we've seen so far, Troy, the obvious comparison that a lot of people throw around was Left 4 Dead, right? Team, do it by yourself with one buddy, up to a group of 4 buddies, and fight off waves of, in this case, vampires instead of zombies. They, in this interview, were very, against that comparison. As Anthony said, they were like, this is more a Far Cry, open world. Maybe you're walking around and you see this girl behind a shed and she's got needs help. And maybe you do it, maybe you don't. Maybe you and your buddies decide to go this way and wander and see what's out there. And maybe you get sidetracked and you don't really accomplish anything for a few hours. They likened it more to Far Cry. And I did not kind of like that they said like open world, because they also talk about zoning from one zone to another, and I'm like, well, then that's not really open world. Whatever. I mean, all
limited open world.
Yeah, limited open world. So, in one respect, Troy, I really, really like that, because if I wanted to play Left 4 Dead, I'd play Left 4 Dead. And judging by how often I play Left 4 Dead, I really don't want to play Left 4 Dead. And I'm excited to see Redfall be a bit different in that regards, and not just be Left 4 Dead, sub in vampires instead of zombies. In another respect, I think it could potentially, depending on what we get, set you up when you say Far Cry. Whether you like Far Cry or not, there's a lot of crap to do in Far Cry at any given point to just take you off the beaten path, whether it's to go find towers, go do this, whatever it is. And I don't know if what we've seen of Redfall so far gives me that type of depth, and maybe the comparison to Far Cry sets it up for a little bit of disappointment. I'm not sure.
I think they need to do a really good job this time around of showing that exactly what sort of their open world kind of looks like. I know that we're probably looking at delays and it's probably not ready to go, but there's got to be enough to show sort of what their open world looks like. Because initially when they said open world, I was with everybody else. I was thinking Left 4 Dead, right? So they say open world, and my thought went to, well, maybe the maps are a little bigger. Maybe they're not quite as linear as they are in Left 4 Dead and Dark Tide 40K. That's kind of what I thought initially. It was Left 4 Dead, maybe a little less linear, a little larger maps. But they're talking Far Cry, man. You're talking big open world, like you said, with lots to do. And one of my concerns becomes with something with Warhammer 40K, Dark Tide, and Left 4 Dead, it's easy to just go in by yourself and jump in and just get a group and play the game. With something that's larger, open world, my concern is, what if my friends stop playing? How easy is it going to be for me to find a group to run around and do stuff with? And how much solo content is there actually going to be in this big open world? That seems to be, as much as you say, it's large, as open world, it's not Left 4 Dead, still seems like it's geared towards group content.
Yeah, and speaking of map size, remember they did at one point in one of their dev streams do kind of like a comparison with one area, one mission location. Just that was it. It was just one mission location on the map, and they dropped the Talos, the ship from Prey, in to that area, and the Talos was the entirety of what you did in Prey, and they said that was about 5 American football fields, and it, like, the zone in Redfall for this one mission, this one area, just dwarfed the Prey. So they haven't given exact numbers, but they have already drawn that comparison to say Prey was in a ship, a really, really big ship, but it's nothing compared to what we've got planned for Redfall. They're actually, all they said as far as reveals, Anthony, is that they're going to show off single player and multiplayer gameplay that we haven't seen so far. They're going to talk about character customization, since there is that, you're basically picking one of 4 characters, so you've got to customize it some other way in the skill trees and stuff like that, and cosmetically that we've seen. But they haven't announced like anything earth-shattering besides some new gameplay. Is that going to be enough for you to enjoy their presentation at the Developer Direct?
I think they're in a situation where people are already interested. So I feel like this is a time, like Troy said, to show more of the world. That can be gameplay, that can be talking just more about the open world aspect of it. But I believe the gameplay would definitely hook me. I mean, I already like the characters already in the different like archetypes and the whole thing of where you can basically make a character a certain type of way and someone else can have the same character, but they're different, depending on the skills you take up. I just think they need to just show more to make this final push. I know there are like delays and all that going on, but like this is the time to kind of like start running with this because people are waiting to hear more anyway.
Yeah, they've told us it's not Left 4 Dead. Now it's time to show us that it's not Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other big aspect here for MMOBomb multiplayer gaming news is the MMORPG, The Elder Scrolls Online, one that has kind of been my second and third MMO, depending on how well World of Warcraft may be doing at any given time, aka ESO is now number 2 again. It got bumped for like a month to number 3. And we already talked a little bit, Troy, about a shift in focus, right? Instead of the annual... here is Skyrim, here is Morrowind, here is insert new nostalgic zone, and the stories being self-contained to those zones, a year of content through multiple DLC patches. They're going to move away from that. And this is the first reveal that we're going to see of that kind of new direction that they want to go in. Now, they've said they're going to talk about high level in the developer direct, but then the ESO team is getting a follow-up right after the developer direct, a stream of their own where they're going to go into more details about where we're going. They were coy about the word area versus areas, so maybe there's more than one location being added this time around. And they were also coy about a massive new feature, something that if you look back at the last expansion was drastically missing, right? The big new feature was a card game nobody asked for and virtually nobody plays. They've been on a little bit, in my opinion, on a downswing over the last couple of years. While I've enjoyed the stories that they've presented and I've enjoyed the gameplay, the push towards the Crown Store for meaningful rewards has felt bad. Housing stuff moving into the Crown Store has felt bad. The stories themselves, there's always this, while I like the idea of being able to jump into any zone as soon as you boot up a new character and do whatever story you want with the one Tamriel, it does come with the downside of you don't have that feeling of a whole massive world. You have that feeling of these zones because nothing ever crosses borders, because it can't. The story's got to stay in here, and that's it. What are you looking for out of their presentation, both on the developer direct and their full presentation by themselves afterwards? And how would you like to see them change the direction of the annual releases?
Well, I think what we're going to get is a little bit of a nostalgia bomb once again this year. Those always seems to do the best for them. The Skyrim DLC especially, but the Morrowind DLC in the past has done good numbers for them as well. It looks like all indications are pointing towards, based on some dialogue at the end of High Isle, that we're going back to the Morrowind area and we're going to the Telvanni Peninsula, probably. Off the east coast of Vardenfell. So, and that's per several lore experts who follow that and are always picking up the hints and stuff and have a good idea of where we're going before the next expansion gets announced. So we're going to get a little bit of that nostalgia hit again this time around, probably. So that'll be interesting because that always does the best for them, especially when you talk something like Morrowind or Skyrim. There's plenty of area up around Skyrim too as well that they don't have maps for. So, there's still plenty of room for the old nostalgia bomb if that's what it takes to get them up and going. What I would like to see in the future is more interchangeable stories, more stories that sort of run into each other, more continuations of stories. You don't have to stop a story dead in the middle of it to have another story lead off of that to where they're sort of connected and lead into each other later on. I think the base game zones are a good example of that. They all have lead-ins and they're all sort of connected, and it's sort of the people you end with at the end of one zone that leads you into what's going on into the next zone. But yet you can still do that zone as a standalone zone and get a full story out of it. They've done it before. They can do it again. They just need to get back into the groove of that. And on these yearly releases, the first half of the year, they've said is going to look a lot like years past. They're going to have the dungeon DLC, then they're going to have the big story release, but it's all going to come at once this time. They say it's going to be big. They say it's going to be a full-fledged story. We'll see without the multiple drops of story content how much we actually get. But that Telvanni Peninsula, that's where they're going, man. It's big enough where it could be chopped up into multiple zones. If you look at that peninsula compared to some of the zones, other story zones in the game, there's definitely at least a couple of zones worth of area there for them to be able to play with.
Anthony, is that going to be enough to get you to jump in? I know this isn't one you jump into all that often, if at all.
I mean, I used to play ESO before they did the one Tamriel update.
Right.
So like jumping in now is like, where do I go? And then I remember that
Anywhere.
vlog I did.
Anywhere. Pick us
Which
literally.
is overwhelming for some folks.
Yeah,
isn't
it definitely
It's
is.
gonna be overwhelming.
We wrote about a piece that some users put on Reddit. It's fantastic. Like if you do want, as a brand new player, they like took all the content and they update it periodically. So there was a brand new update. We covered it. Like these are the zones and the stories you should do in this order. So that is nice. But yeah, it can be overwhelming for a newbie.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed ESO, and I'm interested in seeing if they do kind of like what Troy's saying, like this kind of twining map to map kind of storyline type thing. Because I enjoy that. I enjoy new locations. That I don't really enjoy kind of those small zones where this is all you really go. So I'm hoping to see some of that.
I love ESO dungeons. I mean, and I've made no bits about that. I love their dungeons. Whether I'm running it with Troy or a group of friends or randos, okay, fine. You get good groups and bad groups. I get it. I love their dungeons, the structure of veteran dungeons, and then I don't dabble too much in trials, just because I'm not in a trial running guild or anything like that. But I very well could be pretty easily, since you can just find guilds and join multiples for various reasons. This is my crafting guild. This is my trials guild. But I love their dungeons. I really, really do. My biggest gripe with ESO over the last couple of years, and Troy, maybe you share this gripe, is it's like one of the least rewarding feeling MMORPGs to play. Like, I run a Final Fantasy 14 dungeon, and maybe I don't need any gear out of it, right? I'm totally done with the gear package that is offered in that dungeon, and I don't need the leveling experience. But there are other things that I'm going for. Maybe it's a parasol. Maybe it's a minion. Maybe if it's a particular trial, there's a mount that I'm going for. Maybe I don't care about that dungeon itself, but I'm using it to boost numbers in achievements in-game that will then reward me with glamour gear and mounts and minions and parasols and emotes and orchestrion rolls and like all this other stuff that you may want to collect. ESO feels incredibly unrewarding on that front.
I'm leveling another character right now, a Magic Dragon Knight. I do one dungeon a day. You know why? Because there's an XP bonus for the first dungeon you run in the group finder.
Right. And it's a huge bonus. It's a huge bonus.
Yeah, it's a very large bonus. It's usually a half a level at the level that I am right now. It's usually actually a little over half a level. Which is hours of gameplay that I can bypass. But where was I going with that? Oh, I could still use the sets and stuff out of there at lower level, but I'm going to outpace them so fast that it's not like I'm going around collecting all these sets right now. Whatever I get, I will stamp in my book for later. But I'm not just out trying to collect all these sets because I'm just going to outlevel what I've got by tomorrow anyway. So yeah, just one a day just for that XP boost is all I'm using them for right now.
Yeah, and the collection book is absolutely brilliant, by the way. Yeah. It's very similar to WoW's, transmog collection set. You've gotten this piece of gear at some point. But ESO lets you actually craft that item later at different levels. So, until you get to CP champion points 160, you're constantly just trading out your gear. Once you hit CP 160, then it's just go for the gear that is best for your class. Let's set cosmetics aside. Craft it, get it from drops, whatever, if it's a monster set piece, And that's it. You're going to be wearing that for a while, and the rest is just collecting it if you want to ever change styles and looks of stuff. But I love that system. It's great. You can get a drop in a dungeon right now, have the piece of equipment become meaningless, and then later, when you hit CP 160 on that character, Troy, hey, that's actually a BIS right now for me if I stat it the correct way. I already got that drop once. Let me go to a crafting table, use some transmutes, and go ahead and craft it. I love the system if you want to collect gear, Anthony. Like, everything else has just been pushed so far into the crown shop because, and like, the only reason that I can see is the player base is dwindling. You know, it's still healthy, but it's getting smaller. And so to maintain the same revenue, you've got to attract fewer people to buy more things. And there is that rumor of Bethesda, Anthony, working on, or ZeniMax working on, some other new MMO-ish project right now. And maybe the team has been moved or reallocated. We don't know that for sure. That's speculation right now. But it certainly would make sense why some of these decisions are being made.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely sounds like a reason. I also just feel that, it's one of those long-running MMORPGs that has seen a lot of shakeup. And I feel like what ends up happening is kind of what also happens with WoW is just like over time, people just gravitate away from it because of the way that it's ran. And maybe this is a new way for them to bring in more people by shaking things up again. Because I feel like generally people don't want small worlds. They want bigger worlds. They want worlds to kind of intertwine. They want to be rewarded, and having more features and systems to back that feeling is the way they should go.
Yeah, so Misfit brings up another interesting point, Troy, that for maybe more endgame players like ourselves, maybe not so much for newer players, there is always constantly a shakeup in builds and like what builds are strong, what ones aren't. Maybe your build just became obsolete. The update 35, the combat patch, I mean, that really shook some things up, making weaving less important and other combat changes. It's like you're changing things that your core game players don't want changed. I understand that the rationale you're using for those changes is to make something more accessible for new players. But are you really at this age for, like, is EverQuest really worried about attracting new players at this point? Like, is EverQuest 2 really worried about attracting new? Is it nice to? Sure. Yes, of course. Do they want new players? Yes, of course. Do you see massive EverQuest 2 marketing campaigns on your commercials or on your YouTube ad? No, you just don't. And I have a feeling, at least in my book, that like ESO has reached that. You don't see Star Wars: The Old Republic commercials on YouTube anymore. You don't see EverQuest. You do still see ESO. Maybe you shouldn't. Like, cater to the base you have so that you can keep them and figure out other ways to make the game more accessible. And maybe this change in yearly direction could be a potential starting point for that, Troy.
And I think that's what they're trying to do, because the second half of the year, they've said they're going to focus on the quality of life stuff, which is your existing player base type stuff. So hopefully they do that and keep the existing player base in instead of them ducking out as soon as the story's over with. They've got to introduce some systems and some features that really keep people interested and hanging around after the new shiny has worn off.
Just give me, if Wayfinder does just dungeons and they do them to the entertainment value, in my estimation, of the Elder Scrolls Online, Wayfinder is going to be the shit, man. Like, it's gonna be, at least for me. Okay, let's move on. Oh God. Well, we got something we can talk about first. I want to get just some opinions from you on some maybe type news. John Smedley is leaving Amazon Games. If you forgot that he was there, I wouldn't begrudge you that.
I had forgotten he was there. When I saw this news, I was like, what? Smedley's at Amazon?
Yeah, he's been working on what was reported at one point to be kind of like a sci-fi MMO FPS thing. Like, we don't know if it's still that, because those were just rumors from a while ago. We're assuming that that's still true. He was heading up something. That's all we know for sure. He's leaving to, quote unquote, try something new. So you were at Sony Online Entertainment all those years. Then you went to Daybreak when it got Sony SOE got bought. Then you left. We're going to do your own thing for a little while, and then went to Amazon instead. Oh, by the way, your own thing was also developing a game. Then you went to Amazon to develop a game. Now we're going to try something new. I don't begrudge him wanting maybe a different scenery or anything. Like, you can change jobs whenever you want. It doesn't matter what level. Amazon has not pushed out anything, Troy, besides New World and the publishing of Lost Ark. We've got the publishing of Blue Protocol coming up. Crucible, Breakaway, like all that crap was canceled. This project's still in the works. Does it make you a little worried for this project to see the lead of it, even if it's for totally 100% the reasons he says it is? And I've got no reason to doubt Smed, besides, a couple of lies in the past. Maybe. Does it worry you for this project when you see a leader leaving before the project sees any daylight, really?
A little bit, yes, regardless of who it is. When the leader jumps ship in the mid-process, I don't think that's typically a good sign for whatever it is that is going on behind the scenes there.
But they say it'll be fine, Troy. He's involved in the transition to the new leadership. Development is going well. The teams are doing great. It's all fine, Troy. Maybe you're being a little pessimistic.
Or maybe he's getting the heck out of there before his name is attached to something that's a train wreck.
No, Smed wouldn't do that.
Never.
Smed wouldn't do that. Chat, Anthony saying it's just PRBS.
Yeah, I mean, it could be PRBS. I mean,
I'm gonna put you on the spot then. Ask your cat, does this game see the light of day, or does it get canceled?
Cat, does it see the light of day?
I love how the cat turned around and was like, yes.
I don't know. It might, but I feel like depending on where it's at, and when he decided to jump ship, I feel like that's going to determine a lot of things, because whoever comes in next is going to really probably decide how it really goes forward. Sci-fi MMO FPS, I mean, I feel like we need more of those. So if someone comes in and pick that up, that'd be great.
You got Destiny. You're fine. Just go play Destiny 2.
Oh yeah,
don't worry. That sci-fi MMO FPS is now going to be a fantasy battle royale by the time somebody else gets done with it. So
right, with optional sports ball mode. All right, we can't delay this anymore. Skull and Bones, the pirate adventure you've all been waiting for your entire life, whether or not you realize it or not, has been delayed for the 6th time. This happened amidst a wonderful thing that Ubisoft held called an emergency investors call, which is always something good when you're an investor of a company, for an emergency investors call to be held. Now, the call was about 25 minutes long. It is linked in the rather lengthy post that I wrote on MMOBomb.com, which I highly suggest you go check out. And comment below. There's some great conversations going on in the comments there. I do link the recording. If you have 25 spare minutes, it's actually really worth a listen. It is really worth a listen. In this entire call, they canceled 3 unannounced projects that we did not know about yet, in addition to the 4 projects they canceled just in July that we did know about. So that's 6 to 7 projects canceled in the last 6 months. They revised financial expectations down, financial targets down, and are actually expected now to have a 10% decrease in year-over-year bookings They also said that Mario Rabbids didn't sell that great. Neither did Just Dance, and that's their actual sell-through, not necessarily their revenue. I'm sure they made a little bit of money, but it missed expectations, so even some of those games aren't doing well. And they kind of snuck in there, yeah, Skull and Bones will be early 23, 2024 now. And presumably they meant their fiscal year, which kicks off April 1st of 2023 and runs through March of 2024. Early 2023-24 would probably put it in like April through September of this year as the first half of the year. Verbally, they kept referring to it as early, so let's give them the first quarter. We should be hearing, we expect to be hearing from the team at Skull and Bones with a new release date, quote-unquote, very soon from their acknowledgement on Twitter of this delay. They're putting up a new episode of The Deck today, which, Anthony, I think I need you to cover, please. Showing off some more gameplay, so maybe we'll get some information there. Troy.
What a wonderful game.
Hey, it's a $70 price point. Wait for reviews, people.
Ooh, $70.
Yeah.
Their stock took a
For a
10% hit that day that they held that call.
Their stock's going to take another hit the day they release this game.
I think
And
so.
the weeks following. This has train wreck written all over. And you know, sometimes delays are
It's
good.
been a train wreck for 7 years.
Very true. But sometimes delays are good. Sometimes, like, you see enough of a game, you're like, okay, yeah, a delay could really, you know, finish this game and give it a level of polish that's really needed. At this point, I don't know why they're delaying. I don't know what they're going to add to this game to make it anything more than what it's going to be, which all reports coming out of this, everybody who's had anything to do with this game has talked about how shallow it is, how little content there is in it, how dressing up as a pirate and all that's just window dressing. There's nothing to do besides run around on your ship. I've seen some video, I think yesterday, of when you're harvesting like coconuts or something to transport. You just ram your ship into the coconuts. You don't get off and collect coconuts. You just ram your ship into it and they fall down on your ship. It just looks like such a mess. And it's such a shame because they've already made the game that everybody wants. Everybody wants Assassin's Creed Black Flag. They've already made that game. Make a live service. I know the word's dirty, but make a live service Assassin's Creed Black Flag. How hard could that have been? You've already made the game that everybody wants to play, and now you've got this cheap knockoff that's coming across like a mobile game as far as features out there, and you just keep delaying the inevitable. Your company's already in trouble. This is not going to help you at all. This is just going to make things worse. No. And this game is a disaster waiting to happen. It's going to see the light of day, but it's a disaster. Yeah. It's going to be a disaster.
And again, we've said it before. The only reason it's going to see the light of day is because it has to.
Yeah.
I have to believe that this would have been canceled a long time ago had it not been for contractual obligations with the Singapore government to open up Ubisoft Singapore and get it started. I have to believe that this would have been canceled way prior to this. And to your point, Troy, and Flintstone made this point in the comments below, below the article. It's like, you know, delaying things for proper testing programs, not just throwing things in the public arena. They're doing the right thing, testing the game, making sure it's good before release. These are all the best things to do. Early access Kickstarter programs just gave game devs a massive excuse to be lazy, in Flintstone's opinion, and put things out and be blasé about game development, and that's why we're kind of in the development stage we are in most games. So Flintstone thought this was a good thing. And I wrote back, I would usually 100% agree with you. Redfall saying March, no, May, yes, is exactly what I think Flintstone is talking about.
Yes.
We've got our game. We've got our systems. We've got the gameplay. We've got the loops. We've got everything core to the game done. We just, you know what? There's some odds and end graphical bugs and this system bugs when you do this. We want to get that as much of that stuff out. I would absolutely agree with Flintstone. When you talk about this game in particular, though, Anthony, Skull and Bones, I don't think you can look at it through the lens of, a delay will result in a better game. Remember, there was supposed to be a story component to this all those years ago. That got excised and cut out. It's not like the last 2 delays have given them time to, hey, our fans said they actually did want a story thing. Can we revive that and delay a year and bring them? That's not what they're talking about here. They may be fixing bugs and polish, but the time for core system and fun has long passed in the development of this game. It's too late for that. What's there is there, and what isn't. Now, maybe they can do arguably a Sea of Thieves thing where 5 years later, it's actually a really, really damn good game, but on launch day, it wasn't so great, or a No Man's Sky. But is Ubisoft in a position to allow them the time to do it, assuming, by the way, that they don't get purchased by somebody, something that they've said we're open to, and Tencent sunk an investment in the Guillemot Brothers company, which is the technical owner of Ubisoft. So are they going to close? I don't think so. But I could see them being snagged up for like a box of popcorn and some Junior Mints.
Yeah, I mean, with the way that the CEO talks about, hey, this on you guys, do something about it. It's like, well, if this doesn't work out and all the other projects don't work out, I mean, I guess they're fucked. I mean, I don't know what to say. But I do think it's going to be a No Man's Sky situation. It's going to release. It's going to be, and then they're going to slowly make it better. But like you were saying, I don't think they're in the position to afford that. Like, they need a hit this year. They need something that is good.
Yeah, I mean, they got all the Assassin's Creed stuff planned. Most people are generally positive about a feudal Japan style Assassin's Creed and some of the other Assassin's Creed projects. It's not like Ubisoft doesn't do good things. They just have lately, over the last couple of years, done more bad things than they've done good. And CEO Yves Guillemot emailed his employees and told them literally, the ball's in your court. Like, we need to deliver. We have canceled and streamlined and slimmed down a bunch of projects. It's up to you guys to deliver on this. Forget the fact that him and his leadership team have done numerous awful things, refused to hold each other accountable in some cases, and made terrible decisions. Now it's all on the teams to deliver on these projects. I've also seen speculation from other people that they're in this position where they kind of have to force issues, Skull and Bones aside, that's contractual, but other things, because they're one of the few larger game companies, to your point, Troy, that doesn't have a high-profile live service. They don't have GTA Online that just makes the money in the off season, right? You don't have to be pushing a game every year. But I don't know if I trust Ubisoft to make one. I see how Division and Division 2 started. We have more free-to-play stuff in the Division stuff coming up. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't. I don't know. It's a company that's just a huge question mark for me right now, Skull and Bones aside.
Like you said, the leadership hasn't held themselves accountable up to this point, and obviously, per that statement, they're not holding themselves accountable now for the stock prices and the trouble that they're in now. It's not on them; it's on the employees to fix it. Despite budget cuts, despite probably layoffs, despite streamlining projects, despite canceling projects, despite not having budgeting in place for projects properly in the first place. It's not on the leadership, it's on the employees. So no accountability whatsoever from the top tier of this company.
Misfit saying, if I were a Ubisoft executive, I'd have canceled Skull and Bones a long time ago. They must have figured out a really great way to monetize it. No, they didn't. They're contractually obligated to release it. Otherwise, I agree with you. They would have canceled this years ago. They have to release this title. Releasing a title was one of the stipulations to get a bunch of concessions from the Singapore government to open up Ubisoft Singapore. There are huge financial implications that they have to pay back if they don't release a title from this studio. So that's why. And they probably are going to over-monetize the hell out of it. Not to take that point away from you, they probably are.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But
most definitely.
Yeah. It's not because of that monetization that it's still sitting around. Hey, gang, unfortunately, I know some of you, particularly Rose Hapa, was very excited to be taking part this weekend in the Blue Protocol network test. Unfortunately, just days before that test was scheduled to go live, it got delayed. They found some issues that are difficult to work around while doing a network test. And why so close to the actual testing date? Well, because they were trying to fix them ahead of time, and they couldn't. So, unfortunately, Blue Protocol fans, if you got keys or you got a buddy key from a friend, expect an announcement January 25th on when they will resume that. Hey, guess what, Troy? What's going on with Blizzard and another team trying to unionize that we've talked about on the show, Proletariat?
There's no way Blizzard would push back and take part in union busting activities to prevent them
Again?
from unionizing.
No.
Is there?
No
No,
way.
surely
No
not.
way. No. Not Blizzard.
They did reveal who got in, but they also reopened up the registration and the friend code registration too. That had closed on the 10th for the testing, but they opened that back up. And then Troy, Anthony, what's going on here with Leatherface? Might be leaving Dead by Daylight. What the hell?
Oh yeah, might be leaving. Because of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game by Gun Media Holdings. Is what the rumor says. There is like this Discord where there's all these Dead by Daylight leakers who are insiders, I guess you could say, and they have claimed that Behavior Interactive, the developer and publisher over Dead by Daylight, is not renewing the license for Leatherface. So that is kind of fueling the whole speculation that because of the games coming out soon, that they will not renew the license, because Leatherface does not need to be in two different games when
Yeah,
it's kind of the
I
whole
guess
vibe of,
I
like,
guess
the
when you kind
killer
of got
vibe.
a game named after you, you really don't
Yeah.
want to be a killer in another game. I guess I can see it. I guess it makes sense. I guess it makes
Yeah.
sense.
I guess it makes sense. I mean, I honestly, I don't know. This was just leaker talk at the end of the day, but we'll know more, I guess, in the next few months, according to them, if that happens or not.
Here's some cool stuff before we head on over and wrap things up with the weekly bombs here. Counterplay Games made Duelyst a while ago, right? And that didn't do so hot. It closed. And Duelyst 2, kind of a spiritual successor by Dreamsloth Games, is now available on Steam and uses a bunch of the assets and stuff. And you might be asking yourself, how are they able to do that without getting, the old cease and desist, Troy, the old don't use our stuff? Well, Counterplay Games went ahead and made the source code free. Now, Dreamsloth Games and maybe some other indie companies that have already been messing with all the assets, they kind of had backroom gentleman agreements until this was announced. But this week, Counterplay Games made all the assets open source. They're available on GitHub for you right now. No strings attached. You want to make a board game, a card game, make a new mode in Duelyst, take the art assets and do something else with them. No royalties, no strings attached, no OGL bullshit. I had to get it in there, Troy. I had to get it in there. Absolutely free. You can go grab it. We have the link in the article. So if your personal game building project has needed a push, maybe this could help. I loved when Paragon did this, Troy. I love that Counterplay is doing this.
Yeah, unfortunately, when Paragon did this, they're not really. I mean, there's games being created out of it, but nothing that's been like top quality right now. So
yeah,
Duelyst 2
the question becomes, does anything become of it?
Yeah, Duelyst 2 is being really well received, and Counterplay Games loves what they're doing with Duelyst 2. They love it. They love it. I just think, like, Anthony, what they said in the piece was like, giving smaller companies and smaller developers help when you're a bigger company is really important. And this is one way we can do that. If we're not going to do anything with it anymore, why would we stop anybody else from doing anything with it?
I wish this would be a sentiment that other companies would adopt, because there are so many games that, well, just assets in general that just are just gone now because they don't want to spread it
I
to,
mean,
the
you're
teams
writing
that
about
need it.
today Capcom's one of their MMOs possibly coming back due to fan stuff. We'll see how long it
Hopefully.
lasts. We'll see how long it lasts. I know it's
We'll see.
Capcom, but if NCSoft's
Uh,
reaction to private servers and stuff like that is anything to go by.
yeah.
More
Definitely.
Wayfinder testing next week, or at least information next week. Those tests are under NDA, so we won't be able to share anything, but some of us are in those tests. So that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to that, but we won't be able to talk about it or do a gameplay action episode. Anthony asked me, he was like, do we have a show where we could do? I'm like, yes, we do. We do. I have the assets for you if you want it. It's a first look before the first look, but we won't be able to do that. But you can sign up right now for PC. They're going to be their second PC test. PlayStation players are getting in for the first time on this test as well. And then I've got some cool skins for you, Troy. What do you think about these? These are from the Lost Ark Witcher crossover, a crossover just made in heaven. Like, as soon as Lost Ark came out, I was like, that's going to get a Witcher crossover. I don't know. Let's take two big things and slam them together and call it a crossover. But just some nice skins.
They are some good looking skins. A little odd to see Geralt in Witcher Ciri in Lost Ark, but whatever it takes to make some dollars, right?
Yeah, because of course, Anthony, the skins themselves are in the cash shop. You can get other Witcher themed prizes just by participating in the event, but you're gonna get the paycheck for this one. You gotta pay CD Projekt Red some cash to get
Some moolah.
some moolah. All right, let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. I'm going to give a dub bomb this week to you, Anthony. I loved your... So, Anthony, if you don't know, writes a weekly piece called Game Design Spotlight, where he looks at just like various pieces of multiplayer and MMO games and talks about whether they were good or bad design, why, how they cater to a new player or an experienced player. Just kind of like... He did Final Fantasy XIV housing at one point and Final Fantasy XI combat and like all kinds of different things. This week was really interesting. Goes up every Tuesday. You can check it out on MMOBomb. Stay tuned for an every Thursday feature from Anthony starting next week as well. If you're looking for games to check out in 2023, we already put up our MMORPG list. We will have the new one for you in a different category this Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Troy, he went and looked at the Ruthless mode in Path of Exile, something we talked about on this show and said, there's going to be an audience for that, no doubt. But, and it was, the developers just wanted to do it. So kudos, getting to do what you want and put it in the game. But like, is this something for new players? Probably not. Anthony wrote an entire piece saying, I checked it out. I think it actually is. I think it actually is a great mode for new players. Why?
Why? Well, I would say the main reason is because of just the substance of being a new player in Path to Exile. When you go through the regular version, you see loot all the time. There is a certain different way of like how you feel accomplishment in the game. A lot of the hardcore players are like they're just like racing through the content because this is like their 10th time doing it. With all the rotating leagues and whatnot. Cat, calm down. But like Ruthless, it makes the entire experience, from the jump, an in-game experience. You have to really farm for equipment, and you have to really think about what you're doing. And there's a certain different level of just like I don't even know how to really say it. Just a different level of a dopamine hit from the whole experience that you don't really get from the regular Path of Exile. It's more kind of streamlined and you can get everything that you want. It's very easy. And, this game is all about player experimentation. But at the same time, I do like the aspect of working for that experimentation of like finding this gem that I just picked up that I don't know anything about, but using it in some way that benefits my build. I feel like new players would kind of get that they would have more fun with that. I would say, especially casual players, because with the whole regular experience always changing because of patches that they might have messed up with the league or whatnot, and then eventually the new league comes around, you kind of miss a lot of the anticipation and excitement that comes with that league. But hardcore, it is its own experience. You just go through it and you just have fun with it. And it's not really ruthless, as they say. It's more so just a limited mode. But it's Path to Exile at the end of the day. You get what you need, you get the skill that you want, you get the equipment that you want, and you'll still be, cleaned up maps. But
we'll
it's
see if
just
you
a different
still feel
experience.
the same after you write today's piece, where they did make some changes, and particularly to what they viewed as overly generous drop rates in ruthless mode. So we'll see. By the way, I forgot to ask, does your opinion of Skull and Bones change? I wanted to poke fun at you. Like, you were hopeful for this one, thought that you were the optimist among the three of us. Is that going to change for you, or was this sixth delay the nail in the coffin?
It was the nail in the coffin, but I am still, I am an optimistic person at the end of the day. So I'm going to play it. I'm going to see. Not day one. I'm going to see what somebody else says first. but
He's no longer a buyer.
It's definitely something that I'm going to keep eyes on, because I have hope for it. I just remember looking at the trailer footage and stuff like that, and it just looks like a good game. I just feel like the substance of it is what's going to be the issue, and something that they're going to, do a No Man's Sky situation where it's going to be patched over time, and then it'll be good. But I hate that that's the situation there.
Well, I give the dub bomb to you. It was a very interesting article for something I didn't expect to be the case. What do you got, Troy?
A bomb for Anthony's hope for Skull. My man, what are you on? Or you're still hopeful for this game? Give me some of that hope, brother. Man, I can't believe you still got hope for this game.
Anthony, you're up. Dub bomb for Skull and Bones.
No. I want to give a dub bomb to the Xbox presentation coming up. I'm gonna give it a dub bomb to that.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. People, they were kind of upset about Xbox kind of like not holding more of these and not showing up to other presentations, like the Game Awards. But they kind of have been doing this, I believe, since last year, where they do like a yearly presentation.
Yeah.
To kind of set the expectations. And
you're excited, even though Starfield's not in attendance, a noticeable omission. And they said, hey, when we reveal more of this, we want to reveal it like in full. We don't want little pieces. That's kind of why it's not going to be there. But who knows if that's the real reason. You're not disappointed Starfield's not there?
No, I got a love-hate relationship with like Bethesda and ZeniMax right now. Like their past games, especially 76, Fall 76, like I can't be excited until someone else tells me to be excited at this point.
Unless it's Skull and Bones. From the viewers, Box on YouTube saying, giving myself an A-bomb because I had a whole typed out comment for both the weekly bomb and question of the week from last week's show, and I must have stupidly discarded it instead of posting it thanks to YouTube Mobile. Oh well, not to rehash anything, I'm also giving a dub bomb to all the cool VR tech coming out this year. There is quite a bit. And being developed in general, from VR glasses to an outer skin you can wear on your hands that electro-stimulate the sense of touch. I'm sure that's the only thing those will be used for. It's looking cooler and cooler by the day. What, Troy? What do you think?
Everything is porn.
Everything is porn. Go ahead, Troy.
Oh, glory to Mom for simply meeting new people. Heard of a story from my brother about how he met his wife's relatives' husbands. And after some talking, it turns out he was a clan member from a long time ago when he grinded Lineage 2. Latvia is not that big, but it's fun to hear stories like that. And in addition, it's fun to hear from new colleagues that they played the same MMOs.
Yeah, I'm always like intrigued anytime I hear the stories of like a husband and wife that I'm messing around with, playing an MMORPG with. And I'm like, oh, yeah, how'd you guys meet? Oh, we met in-game. Really? Because I hate everybody in this game. How did you find each other? Like, there isn't a single party that I wasn't like, oh, I love all of you. We got to do this again. I'm like, just GG, I'm out. Here we go. We completed the dungeon. And you guys were like, let's get married. It's amazing sometimes. Go ahead, Anthony.
Ninja Panda's the bomb for my shipment from Japan that is arriving on Tuesday. A bomb for the cold front arriving next week here in the UK.
Ooh, yeah, it's cold here in the Berg as well. Shirak214 saying A bomb to having only the W key die on the keyboard, and I can't think of a more aggravating break for an MMO player than the W key breaking. Although if you're Troy, just use ESDF. You'll have more range of motion.
Far superior.
Yeah, because he's on every esports team you've ever seen. Is
Yes.
Troy getting that advice from Troy Blackburn? Finish it off, Troy.
To Cal, A-bomb to the new Final Fantasy 14 24-man. I just finished. No reason for it to be that hard. Dear Square Enix, most of your players are not hardcore raiders, you idiots.
Yeah, I'm still stunned by that. Like, I didn't think that one was all that difficult. But you know, different strokes, different folks. Yeah, Ninja Pandas. I know there's more above, but you've given me like 6. I put one in the show. I appreciate it. But okay, A-bomb Part 2. A-bomb to UB. Well, hold on. Did he get another one above that? No. A-bomb Part 2 from Ninja Pandas. A-bomb to Ubisoft for not making The Division 2 free on Steam for people who already bought it, even if it is 70% off, since I've just had to rebuy it again. And Old Glory saying A-bomb to Troy for not giving Bless Global, I think is what he meant, a positive review.
Bless Global.
Bless will never not be brought up.
Question of the week last week. What's your New Year's gaming resolution? You're going to play more of a certain type of game, get better at a specific game, maybe play less games and go outside more. Box says, question of the week. My New Year's resolution is to deep clean more of my stuff from my bedroom in particular. I've been working my way through all my drawers and dressers to clean out and either throw out old junk I don't need or donate old clothes I have after washing and drying them, of course. Going to be heavily focused and keeping a more minimalist lifestyle this year, keeping my purchases to a minimum and only keeping around things that have sentimental value. Also hope you all had an amazing holiday off for the few weeks break at the MMOBomb team. Much love. Thank you so much, Box. We did. Much love to you as basically a weekly contributor. It's definitely appreciated. We love seeing the consistency of names in the YouTube and MMOBomb comments. And I guess the gaming portion of that is going to be saving money, right? Going to be keeping those purchases to a minimum. I'm going to save you some money right now, help you achieve that New Year's resolution. Wait for Skull and Bones reviews. Don't listen to Anthony.
Yeah, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Troy,
I mean, I'm waiting too.
Just wait for 5 years, according to Anthony, and then you're gonna have a good game.
I would say wait a year.
Oh, it's going to be
Wait
longer
a year.
than
If they
that.
can write that ship in a year, I'll give them $70.
Oh, I love the pun, and I don't even think it was intentional. They write the ship. Go ahead, Troy.
Metallica fan, my gaming resolution is not video game related, but to start clear the backlog of Warhammer 40k 30, Horus Heresy, miniatures that need painting. There's a big backlog, so don't think I'll clear it all.
I think
Nice.
even I, just as an experimental miniature painter right now, like I'm not terribly good at it, but I am getting a little more into it than I've ever been before. And by that, I mean painting 1 or 2 things every couple of months at this point, just to learn techniques. I don't think any of us ever catch that backlog up. Ever.
No.
Ever.
No.
Question of the week this week. What MMORPG or multiplayer game do you not like, and you're just sick of hearing from other people how much you should play this game? Like, you could also read it this way. What popular MMORPG or multiplayer game do you just not enjoy, even though many do, and why? Is it something like Final Fantasy 14? Everybody tells you should play it, and you just don't like it. Why? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget your weekly bombs while you're there. Dub-bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad. In the world of gaming or just life in general, we'll, of course, be back next Friday right here on Twitch with the return of Rose Hoppa. Aspen Pash coming on back. Until then, Anthony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter at @JonesWriter. I post things, I retweet. Follow me.
Troy.
Hey, catch me tomorrow night, twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio.
Oh, look
for
at that
Gaming
plug.
Gumbo.
What a baller.
We're going to be talking all things gaming, including the OGL.
What a baller. Appreciate the shout out to my personal things. Love it. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there on Twitter at magicman1. But more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so you'll know every time we go live, post a giveaway, a first look video, Anthony's weekly columns, and so much more. Until next week, stay safe, and we'll see you on the servers. Later.